Hey guys, all right, gonna start doing answering questions for the week. Questions I get before I forget them. One was on sitting, and we did some videos on sitting. So, I'll run a cat over here. So one girl said she had pain, and she felt better in her neck. And to me, she felt better in her neck, not to her. But she said she had a lot of lower back pain. She was sitting like I told her, which is upright, a little bit forward, working on the computer there. The problem was her knees were acutely bent, and you can't really see that, but she had them too bent. So that's going to put more pressure on the sacroiliac joint. So what you want to do is put them out a little bit more. Go past 90 degrees. And you'll notice if you've done the founder exercises, this almost feels like that one position where your thighs go together. So then you're taking pressure off. When you squeeze your thighs together, you can even see me. I get a little taller, just a little bit of squeeze in the knees. So the feet are out and they're curling in, and the thighs are squeezing. And you'll feel that takes pressure off your sacroiliac joints. So when you're sitting there, you can try to do that. It's going to be hard to hold, but you can even do reps. So I try to do reps because it keeps me focused. I'm one of those fidgety ADD people. So if you just we get certain tics and movements, that just helps us focus on it. Distracts our left brain so we can focus. It's just that light squeeze. So the core is going in. She had everything right, and it's getting rid of that rounding. We're not here, and then we're also not here, but it's just core shifting, lengthening, and squeezing. That's the same thing when you're standing. You want to try to activate the feet a little bit. That was another big question about like arch support. What does arch support do, Nate? It's the same as back support. Does it strengthen your spine? No, it does not. It supports it, which actually makes it weaker. So we want activation. We want to use our arches because they're like our hands. What would you do if your palm was atrophied? You wouldn't be able to use your fingers. You wouldn't be able to pick up objects. That happens to people. It's less common because we don't put our hands in gloves all day long. It's the shoes that are causing half that problem. You can still activate your feet and your arches when you're walking. Same thing when you're walking. Squeeze the thighs slightly together, and you're walking there trying to use and grip with your arches in your shoes. Why not? Why not do it? It's going to help you activate some of those feet. What am I saying? Activate those arches, use those muscles, strengthen, and you're also going to be taking pressure off your sacroiliac joints. A lot of people walk on those joints, and they're just walking on those sacroiliac joints all day long instead of hinging from the hips and motioning from their hips. So when I normally view people, they're very restricted in the hips, always 100% restricted in the hips. Sacroiliac joint is irritated, and that's when it easily sprains because it's just putting it right on the end, just irritated, then you turn, tugs, tissue tears, and we got to heal that. So that's what I got to say about sitting. That was the one question. And walking ties into that. So to standing, the reason behind that is it's the hamstring, which I didn't explain. You don't want your knees bent a lot. You definitely don't want them acutely bent, because the more you bend, the more that hamstring is going to be tightened. And we already have tight hamstrings. They're chronically short in everyone. So when they're very tight, they kind of pull us forward there. And that's where you can see that pressure is going right into that sacroiliac joint here. And then people stand up straight and they drive their shoulders back. So that's even put more pressure there, and it's compressing that thoracolumbar junction. So you're pressing back, core, and that's going to take pressure out of those sacroiliac joints. So we can talk about counter pressure from the core and the thoracic spine at the same time to lengthen us. And that's going to redistribute your weight better. Other question I get, and nobody says this to me, it's always like the spouse will say it. They'll be like, I just don't get how breathing or this foundation training is supposed to help someone get out of pain or strengthen their spine. What does any of this have to do with it? Does it really work? And yeah, it's a complicated topic, and I think there's a lot of study that goes into it, but what I would say is a short version of this. You're either pushing up against gravity or you're letting gravity hold you down. So you're either going to slowly get weaker from gravity, or your spine's going to get stronger from pushing up against gravity. So you're even going against it, strengthening your spine, or you're resting on your joints. Because when you rest on your joints, over time, you're just going, and then arthritis sets in because your spine's like, hey, there's nerves here. We got to protect these nerves. Oh, we better harden and stiffen and arthritic. And they're like, okay, we stopped that, but now we can't move. Oh, was this a good idea? Well, we had to do it. And then we go Dr. Nate, fix this. And I cry because it's really hard to deal with. And the biggest issue when you're here is all the atrophy, not so much the arthritis. The arthritis is, you don't want to remove that. You need that there to hold you together right now because you have no stability. So first you got to start strengthening those muscles, using those muscles, prying apart those tissues. Because me getting things moving, why do you think you get pain after adjustments sometimes? Maybe that's stuck for a reason. You think your body did that on purpose? It did. It did. So Dr. Eric Goodman says it's the manipulation of gravity to our benefit. It's the same idea, where you are just moving in a better way, a more functional way to interact with gravity better, which is probably still needs to be dumbed down. I like mine. You're either pushing up against gravity or letting gravity hold you down. And words are meaningless at the end of the day. If you want to convince somebody, sometimes you got to take the hard road and show them. You know, start doing this stuff, strengthen your spine. They're going to see the changes in you because they know where you've come from. And change doesn't happen fast. It takes a long time to break up those adhesions. So they might not see it apparently, but then you'd be like, you remember how I couldn't do this? And then go do it. And they'd be like, maybe there's something to this spinal muscle stuff. That's it for the week. I'll come back with you next week with some more answers to questions. And if you got questions, leave them in the comments.